A lot of opportunity here brewing for the weekend as many people are starting to load up on crypto and altcoins. We'll break it down for you on a lot happening. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back in the Tech Path. Let's get into it. I do want to thank our sponsor today, and that's Uphold. This is one of those places where you can go over and get kind of a whole array of services. One of the things that you can do over on Uphold is you can actually go in and put your USD in there and earn, look at that, 4.5% APY on your USD balance. All of that's available, as well as early token access. They get you the best deal. All of that in one simple platform. Check it out, whether you're a business or you're an individual. You can use our link down below to get some special offers and get going. All right, I want to bring in Aldo to kind of talk about what's happening right now within the markets. As you guys know, Aldo coming in from Aldo over on YouTube. How are you?
Great, doing fantastic, enjoying obviously this crazy kind of run up, couldn't
Good
be
move.
better. Very excited. So yeah, great to be on.
Yeah. I want to go over to Bitcoin for a second because some people are now eyeing a little bit of a push. Many people think that we're still possibly in for a dip. If that happens, I can tell you this would be another load up for me. So when you look at the correlation to what we've seen in the past markets, Joe Consorti was on X just a little bit ago. He also pointed that we've seen very low volume. The last time we saw volumes this low was right before Bitcoin spiked from like 52 to almost 80K. So with all of that in the pipe right now, Evan, where do you think Bitcoin is lining up for in the next few weeks?
So I agree with what you just said, that theory. I don't think it's going to jump up that much, but I still would have a lot of optimism here when we look at kind of our chart. And I think that, from the macro right now, I think you got a good shot of getting for the next month to 2 months up to that 120K mark, as long as you can hold where we are right now and keep breaking upward. What I like in the short term here is when you look at this 22-hour, you got a green dot, your money flow is still good, looking like continuation more in the short term. And when you look at price itself here, zoom in a little bit, you kind of have your kind of double bottom area, your consolidation here. And then if you take like a technical target, it would bring you out to somewhere around here. Your next kind of fib level is at 108. So I would think it could be a little slow. It could take time to get there, but I would hope by, the next week to 10 days, get up to that 108. Maybe from there, see a little more consolidation, a little correction, and then carry on into the next month, into the Bitcoin conference, and probably into June too, getting up to that 114, maybe even 120. So I'd be surprised if you just did, what that theory was, just jump up immediately up to 120K. Usually after you get a big jump up like this, everything starts looking good. You keep going, but it's just not as quick. So you got to be a little bit patient here. Then getting up to your 120, and then your typical summer lull that I'll think will happen, which is usually like a 20% correction, something like that. And then hopefully, getting up to our really, hard, nostalgic and not nostalgic, but what's the word? Almost delusional to some people numbers, 150, 200K, those shocking, crazy high numbers. So, yeah.
So you think about it today, if Bitcoin does go to, say, 120, even a 20% retracement off of that would put it really about where you could buy Bitcoin today,
Yes.
at around, we've seen 102 come in, even saw 101 this week, and then, of course, the bounce back to 104. So it's an interesting time. I'm surprised at the fact that we haven't seen volumes increase a little bit on Bitcoin with where it is right now, because it has been a little bit sideways. I want to jump over, before we go over to Ethereum, I want to jump on to XRP. Now, this is coming in. Here's Eleanor talking about this, and she basically is kind of talking along with what John Deaton is saying, and this was his analysis of what Judge Torres was doing around this, this new assessment here. And Deaton made a very interesting point, and it says, basically a valid point here, says, from Torres's perspective, SEC has spent 5 years doubling down on narrative for legal strategy that resulted in thousands of hours, blah, blah, blah. Only for the agency to suggest that those 5 years were essentially a waste. So now she's denied their initial request, outlined a clear path forward, and also provided the Ripple and the SEC that they got to meet these certain legal standards. Point being is that if this continues to go, it's likely that we might have the judge and the SEC say we are wide open now for institutional capital, and really this could change maybe a big print on XRP in terms of price movement on XRP. If you're looking at XRP right now, where do you like this one?
Yeah, I mean, I think, a lot of people are really excited about XRP. I said Dave Portnoy was talking about XRP too, talking
Yep.
about how it's the next Bitcoin. It's just crazy how somebody like that has no concept of market cap, which is funny. But, when you look at this chart, what I think you'll probably see is something along the line. You could form, in the more bearish case, you could form, like a reverse head and shoulders here, and then, you know, basically jump up from this area, and eventually I think you got a good shot at like between 450, these are big Feb levels, to $6 is where I would
Yeah.
think. So that would be like best case scenario close to a 3x, which that's still, I mean, it's a huge market cap, 140 billion market cap. I mean, that's a lot of money coming into this. So, for the more short term, like if I had to, kind of make an educated guess on what would happen, you're probably going to jump up to these highs, I would guess, in the next month to 2 months, something like that. And then I would guess you may reject or consolidate from these areas, and then into kind of your end of year, something along those lines into your end of year here. Then you finally get up to that 450 mark, maybe even that $6 mark. So I'm very optimistic on XRP, but you got to realize it's already a $140 billion market cap. Unless you think it's
Yeah, I
going to
think
1 trillion. Yeah.
I think a lot of people are, to your point, is there's not a lot in terms of X gains. But again, if you look at somebody that's coming into crypto right now, if they 2X on anything, to them, that is an unbelievable gain,
Sure.
because there's not any other asset out there, especially when you look at different, whether it's stocks, bonds, gold, you name it, that are performing like that. So that'll be interesting if we do see that occur. Other things that are happening is we've got this stablecoin bill that, my sources are telling me this is going through. We're going to see it possibly within the next week. And you look at where we've seen most of the activity, obviously Ethereum. The next ones to win would be the US ones, which I think will be Solana. I think we're also going to see Arbitrum and Optimism both win on stablecoins. And when you look at that, Evan, let's stay with Ethereum first, because Ethereum could get a little bit of a shot in the arm here that could propel it into 3K easily. Do you like Ethereum right now in the short term? Would you buy it today if you didn't hold it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that like Ethereum, well, I'll explain in just a second. I mean, I think you're probably going to revisit the points we are at right now, if generally with what we happen. But as to your point, 3K, I'm really looking at 3,200 within the next month, maybe two months, jumping up to that point. You see this kind of trend reversal, blue triangle here. Not always the best indication, but you look right here. Yeah, I think you could do something like this, and that would easily bring you back up to, if you jump here, that's easily back up to like 3,200 point. So if we can get there, that'd be pretty big by June. And then maybe you come back down and retest these points. I have a feeling that Ethereum may hold up a little bit better than Bitcoin in terms of, I think it's going to keep outperforming Bitcoin. So it may hold up a little bit better. And then after that little summer correction that we normally see, then you could propel up to into the end of the year, 6,000, probably up to 7,400. Some people have talked about 10, 11K. We'll see what happens. I mean, if we can make a new all-time high, then we could start talking about that. But for now, let's focus on getting up to that all-time high, or really let's focus on getting up to that 3,200. But it does look really good in a lot of ways, especially, kind of on the macro. I think this has been suppressed for a while. And you look at, the 3-week right here. This last thing I'll show you. I mean, little trigger wave, very rare bullish sign, very similar to how we saw back here in 2020 when you had the main part of your rally. I mean, it's not going to go up that much like this time, like, I don't know, what was it, 10x, 20x, but you could get 2 to 3x here easily. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about Ethereum. Based on everything that we're seeing on RWAs, the potential of the stablecoin bills getting through, that's going to start to shift things around within the L2s. I think Ethereum is easily a 9K asset, maybe by year end. And this was on a prediction I made earlier this week of breaking down my top 10 mid-year predictions for crypto. If you guys don't follow me on X, make sure and do that. And if you're not subscribed to Evan's channel, let me introduce you to Evan Aldo's channel right here. Just search Evan Aldo over on YouTube. You'll be able to get in there. He does a lot of videos that break down trading tactics. He has a course. Got all kinds of cool stuff out there, so make sure and visit Evan Aldo's channel and subscribe. Make sure the PBN team sent you over there too, so give him some
Thank
chats.
you so much.
Hey, Evan, let's go over, okay, so if you're in RWAs and you look at Optimism and possibly Arbitrum that both could play very positively on this, let's start with Optimism, because this has
Okay.
been, it hasn't really seen a big run. Do you think this one has an opportunity to maybe do some aggressive growth?
Definitely. I mean, it's risk reward ratio, and there's a pretty good risk reward ratio, I would say. It's kind of a full bubble pop pattern from June of 22. You came all the way kind of back
Yep.
down. You're trying to make a higher low here, which is good. And you're seeing some kind of good rare bullish signs like a deep anchor wave in your 3 weeks. So there's a lot of decent things happening, and I think that usually, you could come back up to these highs, which it's a lot, just coming up back up to $2.75. That's 200% right there. I
Yeah.
mean, even if you can just get that into August, into October, even, that would be pretty good. And then if you can break higher, getting back up to that 455 area. Now, here's where things get interesting. If you can make a new all-time high, then you would have a target, maybe $7. That's where 10x possibility
Yep.
comes in. But be careful; it's a risky. This may do not much at all. It may only come up to like $1.65. It's very hard to say. But I would say, if you have a little bit that you want to risk a 10x on, hold into the end of the year, I think it's a pretty good gamble. So yeah.
Well, the reason I think this is going to continue to see growth, you look at the stablecoin injection that we're going to see. ETH, of course, will play part of this. RWAs will play a part of this. 90% of institutions right now are taking actions on stablecoins. So that to me is already starting to show a lot of signs that we could be seeing some movement within the ETH ecosystem. Arbitrum, Optimism playing a big part of that. So it is a race a little bit, because you still have a lot, at least here globally. You compare Tether to what's happening with USDC, most likely even PayPal's stablecoin RLUSD, as well as what Robinhood is trying to do. So a lot of interesting things. Speaking of Robinhood, Robinhood's doing some pretty big deals right now. So you've got no Solana network fees. There's no network fees for transfers on the Solana network. No network fees for transfers on the network when using Robinhood Connect, up to 5 transfers. So they're really going after maybe a new crowd out there. And back to what Novogratz was talking about earlier, we're starting to see a shift in the demographic. Guys like you in that age group that are starting to really go all in on digital. And if you look at the tokens that are available over on Robinhood, Avalanche, Solana, Cardano, a handful of others that could open up some opportunities here. If you were picking a winner for the weekend, first of all, let me get your opinion on this. Do you think we pump or dump over the weekend?
Oh man, I'd say either sideways or pump. Either side, most likely pump if I had to guess, but
All right,
sideways
well,
or
there you
pump.
go.
I would be more on the yeah.
All right, so now we're brand new to crypto. Somebody just joined our channel, okay? Jeff, how are you out there? Evan's giving you a buy. And if he doesn't own any crypto today, what would he put in his bag?
So right now, the biggest one I would say to really have in your bag, and very important, Ethereum, because Ethereum looks excellent against Bitcoin. Hit a major point bouncing off. It's probably bottomed against Bitcoin. I'd give that almost a 90% chance. And it probably has bottomed, made a local low against Total 3, which is everything outside of Bitcoin and Ethereum. Also a local low, or at least probably a bottom against others too, which is everything outside the top 10 of market cap. So I think it'll outperform that probably for a few more months. And once the Fed finally starts to cut rates, then you could have your real major altcoin season where a lot of them outperform Ethereum. But so Ethereum, I think, is a huge staple you need right now.
And it's a good one in that transition period, which is where we are right now, leading into some opportunity. We'll definitely are going to do our altcoin season bull run videos for you coming up soon as well. One other news, of course, that everybody's watching right now, Coinbase reportedly is under investigation right now by the SEC for claiming over 100 million verified users. So this could get a little dicey for them. This came, of course, on the heels of a hack and a ransom that even Coinbase has gone out and started to put some money behind. So Robinhood may pick up some users here, possibly because of the negative news. But the only thing is that with Coinbase, they have all the tokens. There's so much available over there, and that's the challenge I think Robinhood has got to overcome, to get to the next level, which is important, because if you're going to make a run in this next run, you got to have a lot of tokens to be able to really do it, and that's what Robinhood has got to do. Speaking of when we will see altcoin season, Take a look at this clip from Anthony Pompliano and Arthur Hayes.
I don't want to leave people in tears, but what do you think? You think altcoins are going to have their day and Bitcoin dominance kind of peaks at some point and these cycles follow what we've seen in the past? Or do you think Bitcoin has just separated itself and has become something onto itself?
No, I think Bitcoin dominance will peak. And obviously that's really a function of ETH and Sol because of Ripple, the big assets. If those start outperforming like ETH has in the last week, then Bitcoin dominance mathematically falls. Does that mean that the dog shit altcoin that you own in your portfolio is going to go up? Not necessarily. I think there's going to be a new narrative. I don't know what it's going to be. There'll be a new shiny thing that we all start trading. I'll be trading it for sure. It'll be fun. If it's a coin that's already launched, I think people are getting a lot more discerning, right? We don't want a VC-backed coin with high FDV, low float. That shit is not happening. Right. We're going to go back to like fundamental season, all about cash flows all the time for anything that's not new.
So there you have it. Hayes basically saying the blue chips are going to win this, and then we'll start to see something run. One of the things that we're watching, of course, is Virtual's protocol around the AI side, and you look at agentic AI making its way into gaming. And this is the trip we've taken on Virtuals. You can kind of see, guys, we have seen some pretty amazing runs, even all the way to the top, which was back here around 525 back in January of this year. So it's recessed quite a bit down if you look at the outset on this. Evan, would you jump into Virtuals right now?
I would, yeah. I mean, I think Virtuals has, a decent, it's riskier, obviously. Big recovery, which is good. You'll probably bounce around a little bit. I mean, it does look a little bearish here, so I would think some consolidation here. I mean, you could even come all the way down to $1 again. Don't get too scared, then form a giant, reverse head and shoulders, then get your technical target up at like $6, maybe even up to $8 by end of year. So I think it'll do really well, but I don't think you're going to get a 10x with this. But I think it's a good thing to potentially have in a portfolio. Yeah.
It is one that I do like, but I'm in the camp with you. I think we're going to see it come back a little bit, mainly because we haven't seen major game releases that have been able to engage this. I think once we start to see some of that, or a real major land around agentic AI use case, whether it's on social or other things, Virtuals could play and kind of win that. But I think it'll be later in the year into that. Let's talk about Avalanche. Day one stats for MapleStory. This launched yesterday. Unbelievable. Near 300,000 new accounts created with over 600,000 total in terms of, and you look at transactions, this is where we're getting into some big numbers in just one L1 launching on Avalanche. So, and I was looking at this yesterday, we did a video on this. The L1 lineup for releases is like nothing I've ever seen before. So we're gonna see just an L1 season occur on Avalanche. Are you still very bullish on Avalanche going right now where it's trading?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I really like Avalanche. It still looks great. I mean, it's just a waiting game, I think. The way I've been mapping it out, the first thing I'll show you on the 2 week, what we've talked about before, it just looks so good. You got even you got your wave very similar to back here. So, kind of our worst case scenario, I think, is jumping up, hopefully into August, getting, somewhere between $40 to $46. Probably would be even earlier. Could be a month to 2 months, hard to exactly say. And then, I think you'll see a little bit of a summer lull, maybe a rejection off of 39, maybe a rejection off of 48, bouncing around these areas for a little bit. And then into end of year, I think you at least should be able to get back up to that 100 mark, which is really close to all-time highs. And then hopefully getting up to, there's your 10x, but predicting a 10x for anything is tough. We don't know, but I'll be very happy if we can just get up to that 100 mark. So 100 to 230 is really, my focus here. Like if you start DCAing out at 100, I think that would be like a great plan for this. So 5x I'd be really happy with that. So, yeah.
All right. So if you're floating around 100, that's gonna set you in at almost 300% right now. And again, you look at Avalanche, which has really kind of almost at the bottom of its range right now. If you compare where it's been priced at, do you think it can hit $20 again?
You mean the 200? It's at
no,
the 20.
retrace. I'm talking about a retracement coming off of where it's trading right now, around 23.
Yeah, it definitely can. It's close to where we are. I don't think there's a big point that you look at that's right at if I share my screen right here, that's right at, let's see, that's that 2021. I don't think you would lose that. I could be wrong, but I think you would if you come back. I don't think you would lose that point because that's like that big line in the sand. See that drop right there, February 2nd?
Yep.
I'd be surprised if you lose that. I think you're going to hold that 2165 right there. So yeah.
All right, so there's a good point. This could be the bottom, or at least the range for Avalanche. And when you're looking at strategies around this one, this is where people, listen, you're never going to hit the bottom, you're never going to hit the top. You have to buy at probabilities and understand, do you believe in the narratives? And do you look at the timing of the market and what's happening with that narrative? And Avalanche might be finally getting its day in the sun. Let's talk about Solana, because they are getting ready to do something big, and that is they have the Accelerate conference. First time we've seen Solana on American soil, and the likelihood is we are going to see a ship date, if not a release on the Solana Seeker, which is the big phone. Now that in itself, along with I think a lot of other products that are going to be rolling out, could really spike Solana, maybe up to around 180 to 200. When you look at Solana, the token right now, what would be your high for this market, or this particular cycle? Solana's high potential overall.
I got that right for you. Yeah. If we look at Solana here, I mean, the thing, like what you said, jumping up back up to the 180, 200, I definitely think you could get that, maybe get up to 270 sometime in the summer, then get your summer lull. I've mapped it out at 400. That's my main, my most educated guess here is that we can get up to 400. On my absolute high end, probably 650. So a little over a double, I think you could see for Solana, maybe more. I mean, it's a $90 billion market cap. I mean, maybe you can get up to that 650. I mean, it's tough because it's a larger market cap. Everybody already knows about it. I mean, It's like, how much are they going to let you get with this? I mean, are they going to let you get 300%, or is it just going to be, that 400? I think I would start to scale out right around 400, start to slowly scale out of 400.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
All right, so I've got to talk about the best of the best, and I would have to throw the 3 tokens in that we can only buy one today, Evan.
Okay.
All right, we're gonna pick Solana. We're going to pick SWI, and we're going to pick Avalanche. Which is your only token that you're going to ride, as they say in the younger kids, raw dog?
I would go with the Avalanche. I mean, I think that Avalanche, I'd be very surprised if Avalanche can't outperform Solana. I think SWI's had a lot of its fun and attention, so I think in all likelihood Avalanche would outperform SWI as well. I could be wrong, it's hard to say, but I would give it a 60-70% chance that Avalanche could outperform both of those.
I like it, definitely. All right, so we've got a pumper sideways. We've got Avalanche swinging pretty hard here this week in terms of opportunity. The other scenarios are going to be the RWAs as we start to go into stablecoin season. So there's a lot queuing up here for some pretty interesting altcoin plays. You also have to look at DeFi. We've talked about this both with Uniswap and Pharaoh, both exchanges that are out there right now. If you guys are not following those, you should. Make sure and check those out. Check our video out because we broke it down yesterday's, I think it was an Avalanche video that we did yesterday that kind of gave you guys some insight on all that good stuff. And as I said, make sure and jump over to Evan's channel. Very easy to follow him out there on YouTube. And it's Evan Aldo. You guys can find him there. Subscribe and get in on one of his courses. He does a good job with, if you're not a trader and you want to be, this is the channel for you, because Evan will teach you not only how to trade, but he'll kind of graduate you through the process, because there's a lot of things that you've got to learn, to really become a great trader. So Evan, thanks for coming in today. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much. Always an honor to be on, Paul. Thanks so much for your shout out.
You bet. All right, you guys, if you're not part of the Diamond Circle, get in right now. It's a great place to get additional content from us. Also, get into our Telegram group. It's a free one. We are cracking thousands and thousands of members in that. You guys can talk to me directly. There's a link down below. We only have one. Don't go for any of the scammers. And follow me on X, @Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.